I think you're the first and only Bengals reporter to talk to A.J. Green post-retirement. Yeah. What was it like talking to him, and what's gone on? What have really your thoughts been about A.J. Green upon retirement, given what he walked into in 2011 after he was the 4th overall pick? Because it's not like it was all peaches and cream when him and Andy walked in.
It was like talking to him after a game. It was like talking to him after a win, because after a loss, AJ, he would have been standing in front of his locker still dressed and just steam coming off his head after a loss. But he talked after a win or a loss. But this is like talking to him after a win. Reflective, very straightforward. He sounded a little bit relieved to me, a little bit. I think he's happy to be with the family full time now. Loves being a dad, and I think he felt that pulling at him. I mean, you can probably relate to that now. Now he doesn't have to haul him somewhere. He doesn't have to haul him to Arizona or somewhere else to play. He's done playing, and I think you hit a great point there about what he walked into. And I went back. I looked at some of the stuff that after that first game, when the first game of the Green Dalton era.
Yep.
And I always called it the Green Dalton era, right? Because AJ got here first, Dalton got here the next day, so AJ was first. But Whitworth came in, was in the locker room saying, they said we wouldn't win a game. They said we'd go 0-16, and that's what they were saying in 2011, right?
They were, yes.
People were saying they won't win a game, and then they won the first one, and not only that, they won, I think, 6 out of their first 8.
They did.
And Andy and AJ set the tone for that. I mean, that was an unbelievable year. It's one of the more underrated years in Bengals history. That in 2009. Remember, they had a lockout. They couldn't meet with the coaches. They couldn't talk to the coaches until the last week of July.
That's another good point. That gets lost is the lockout. Yeah, you're right.
They traded Chad. AJ and Chad were teammates for 3 months. But, I mean, it was, they weren't together, but they were on the roster together.
And they were never going to be together.
No, that's
the
why he was
that be were never letting Chad near AJ.
But he was but he changed the tone,
he did.
And God, I love Chad. He was a terrific player, but there was always a little bit of drama,
And it had reached its end.
Yeah. But AJ and Andy it was so opposite. It was like these young guys who didn't know what they were doing, were loving it and having fun playing a game, and Andy was the first guy to throw 20 touchdowns and win 9 games in the history of the league and go to the playoffs as a rookie quarterback. And AJ was a big part of that, man. I mean, AJ was he was a beast from the minute he stepped on the field.
When I knew that they were going to be good as a tandem and that team had a chance to be good, it was actually a loss. It wasn't the Cleveland win in week 1. They went to Denver, I think, the following week.
Yeah.
And they lost, I think, by 2.
Yeah.
But Andy and AJ just gave the Broncos all they could handle.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was a good Broncos defense. And I'm like, this team, they have a shot because they still had Cedric Benson. And Jerome Simpson had one decent year. That was the decent year. And they also had, Jermaine Gresham at tight end. So they had some weapons.
Right. I think Jerome Simpson had 100 yards in that game too. I think he and AJ both had 100. And I think that was the game where Andy said that was the first touchdown AJ caught where he kind of defied geometry with the line and got his feet down.
Yep.
It was that game. And Andy said, he gave a glimpse of what was to come. I mean, how did he do that with his feet? And of course, there's always going to be a big if with AJ. I mean, what if he hadn't get hurt? And that was the thing that impressed me too, James, was there was no bitterness. There was no bitterness about the injuries. There wasn't any bitterness about how he left Cincinnati, which was a tough way to go out because it was such a struggle in 2020. Nobody wants to go out like that. And but he bitter. He wasn't a bitter guy. He gave his best. He's a throwback, man. He went and did what he had to do, and he let the chips fall where they may, and a lot of grace and a lot of greatness.
And the thing I loved about your piece was the fact that clearly his family, huge Bengals fans, and going to root for the Bengals. And you mentioned the bitterness part. That would be hard. The way it ended, he goes to Arizona, and this new receiver comes in named Jamar Chase, and they go to the Super Bowl. That wasn't that long ago. And it didn't sound like he had anything but love for the Bengals.
and it all kind of it was. He won Andy's debut, although Andy wasn't in the game, but he won Andy's debut with a fourth quarter touchdown catch.
Bruce Gradkowski, yep.
Right. And he should have won Burrow's debut, and the referees never should have thrown that flag on offensive pass interference, which would have been a great bookend to the eras. But you're exactly right. I mean, his kids are playing on Madden. They're playing Jamad, they're playing T and Nixon and Burrow. And I said, hey, what about AJ Green circa 2013? Use that guy.
That's right. Yeah, that would be heck. Could you imagine him as well on this team? That would be.
Oh wow. Well, it's just I just you wonder if if he just could have stayed, he would have been a sure shot, knockdown, first round Hall of Famer. Now it's a tough one now with the numbers, but
yeah,
but what a run! But what a great run! I hope people don't forget what he meant to that when they went to 5 straight playoffs.